Sergeras is hands down the most iconic villain of all time. Really, the villain and the most dangerous threat to Azeroth until the most recent years. On the other hand, we have the Jailer, a mysterious figure with universe-destroying potential, yet completely new in the lore with very little substance behind him. However, if we pitted these two mega bad guys against each other, who would come out on top? If you ever wanted to record your raids, arenas, Mythic Plus, check out Squad OV. The app records itself without a click of a button. You can see complete encounter stats, spell visualizations, analyze performance, and you can also watch your friend's perspective. Best of all, you can do it from anywhere just from the web app. Use the link in the description to check out the sponsor Squad OV completely free. All of you are already familiar with Sergeras, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but hands down, without a doubt, he is one of the most powerful beings in the universe, if really not the most powerful being ever, at least a being that has been able to manifest himself in the material plane. So, long ago, Sergeras was the strongest titan, the warrior that went around the universe fighting as a champion of order. Ultimately, he was manipulated by the Dreadlords from the Shadowlands, and he realized that the entire universe must be purged, and he decided to take all the demons that he could imprison throughout the years into his own army and to infuse himself with a whole bunch of fel magic, like an astronomical amount. Then the Titans came in and said, "How can you even consider that? There must be some other way." And then Sergeras, akin to Arthas, dismissed the entire Titan Pantheon, or in this case, he pretty much just completely wiped them out. Now, one thing to note is that even as a Titan, Sergeras was simply just crazy powerful. He literally saw an old god-infested planet, was shocked, and Sergeras pretty much just split the entire planet in one swift strike and a mind-blowing display of power. Then, when he was enhanced by Fel, he literally battled the entire Titan Pantheon in a battle akin to playing with children. Keep in mind, the other Titans were really no pushovers either. Amantul literally popped out an old god like a pimple, and while we know that the old gods are not the universe-destroying gods as we previously thought, they're still just beyond anything a mortal can even imagine, let alone handle. Well, following that, the Legion was formed, and then Sergeras went to work. He masterminded the entire army, recruiting various races through deception, brute force, and enslavement, and he quite successfully wiped out most of the planets in the universe. Ultimately though, of course, he was played for a fool multiple times on Azeroth, and he was even manipulated by the Dreadlords, but it is hard to say that he was just unsuccessful. The scorched planets left behind are just proof of his success. In the end though, we did manage to imprison him with the help of what was left of the Titan Pantheon, but not before he came in with a gigantic sword and stabbed Azeroth to the core. Overall, however, Sergeras has always been considered as a powerhouse, and I'd say the strongest manifested being ever. He obliterated whoever stepped in his way with a snap of his fingers, and even those who proved a challenge, he either just toyed around with them, or they just caused a small paper cut wound. So, while on one side we have this fire demon monstrosity, on the other we have someone completely opposite in essentially every manner possible. Instead of brute force, the Jailer used deception. Instead of coming in to split a planet in half, Zovaal sent his minions that he manipulated, and instead of having 20 years of lore and books behind him, the Jailer has a little brochure and a few cheesy "I am the real bad guy" lines. Zovaal is an Eternal One, a Titan of the Shadowlands, akin to the rest of the Death Pantheon. However, one thing makes him stand out, and that he was the original arbiter of the Shadowlands and potentially the most powerful out of them all. He wanted First One secrets. His family wasn't on board with the plan, so they took his anima and sent him into the Maw to be imprisoned forever, becoming known as the Banished One. However, the guy decided to turn the prison into an engine, and through deception, chains, and whatever other shenanigans, he created an army, a bunch of agents in various realms, and ultimately, he even broke the Machine of Death, channeling every mortal soul in the entire universe to directly empower him. Through this, he managed to easily beat and imprison the Primus, who is like the main war guy of the Shadowlands. He also took the Eye of the Titan Watcher through manipulation, created the Lich King, broke the sky above Azeroth, freed himself, and created a few other agents such as Anduin. Now he is on a mysterious mission to undo the universe, more than likely, and he has freed himself, acquired his sigil and his true form, as we can see in the most recent 9.1 cinematic. So, with all this info, the question arises, this guy wants to undo the universe and reshape everything, and that is exactly what Sargeras also wanted to do, just through different measures. So, who exactly is stronger? Who would win if they battled each other? Now, I'm not going to even pretend like this is really a debate. If it came to just straight out combat like a duel on equal ground, Sargeras would be a shoe and Zowal would just be an ant. Really, nothing that Zowal has done thus far has shown that he's really powerful in 1v1 combat, or at least not nearly on the scale of Sargeras. He was originally defeated by the Eternal Ones and imprisoned, and just this fact changes everything. Zowal was literally Sargeras, but guess what? Sargeras challenged the entire Pantheon and he beat all of them. They didn't really imprison him and send him to a prison realm. However, now, Zowal has definitely grown more powerful as he has been siphoning souls for quite a long time. Of course, he did manage to beat Primus, but I think that is just because he underestimated him. Just the fact that Primus went alone goes to show that he was not exactly considered a universe-destroying threat, but he had grown strong in his prison and turned the tide. So, yes, in a 1v1 duel, the planet-shattering, world-stabbing Sargeras would win without a single doubt. However, from what we have seen thus far, Jailer's true power doesn't come from his brute force, but through his intellect. Everything he had really accomplished thus far has been through deception, manipulation, and cunning. He manipulated Murzala to steal the Eye of Odin, he manipulated Kil'jaeden to create the Lich King, he manipulated Sylvanas to break the sky above Azeroth, he manipulated the Eternal Ones to steal their sigils. Most importantly, if we go by the fact that Zowal was behind the Dreadlords, he also played Sargeras himself for a fool and used his brute force against him, which ultimately ended in his doom, but most importantly, ended up empowering the Shadowlands. See, every world Sargeras destroyed sends souls to the Shadowlands, and part of the most recent Azeroth invasion directly empowered the Jailer. Now, of course, that is not to say that Sargeras was just a bumbling moron. He was also quite cunning. He recruited and manipulated some of the most intelligent races in the entire cosmos, crafted genius plans, and was successful in destroying like half the known universe. However, what the new lore says is that Zowal still did outsmart the Dark Titan. Currently, however, many things are vague. Can the Eternal Ones even leave the Shadowlands, and what exactly is the extent of their power? Power really isn't just a one-dimensional thing. The thing is, Sargeras' only purpose as a Titan was to be a frontline soldier of the Pantheon, while Zowal was the arbiter of death. Additionally, we also need to know what Zowal's plans are. He's saying things like everyone will serve him, how he plans to break the mechanism of the First Ones. So if he does that, it is entirely possible that his firepower will surpass that of Sargeras. My personal headcanon is that Sargeras also knew about this mechanism and he wanted to undo it, but he was never actually successful, and that the key to this mechanism is Azeroth, which is why he invaded it on multiple occasions. Now, if Zowal accomplishes what Sargeras could not, the tables could really turn and he could potentially become the most powerful being ever. However, with the way things are now, I'd say Sargeras was easily crushed Zowal, although Zowal is more cunning and stronger on the intellect side. Thank you for watching. Check out where Sylvanas' memory was wiped out by clicking on the screen, and also check out Donut's Academy for videos on real-world history and science. See you next time.